Yo, what's going on? So this is my Brewmaster Monk Throne of the Tides guide and commentary for a plus 22 Fortified. So starting things off, we want to go ahead and grab the first three groups of mobs here, which is going to include this Pat all the way down to the first caster. Now, a lot of people think that the caster is the most dangerous mob in here. It's actually not. It's the vicious snapdragons. So what you guys want to do is make sure that you are trying to nuke down the snapdragons as fast as possible. Make sure you're using things like leg sweep and ring of peace to keep these off. If you happen to be a dark iron dwarf or a regular dwarf, make sure that you're making use of your dwarf ability to remove stacks of that blade as, if you get a lot of them. So, once the Snapdragons and the Caster are dead, you can go ahead and pull anything that's left in that pack into the next pack, which includes the Sentinel and the two Oracles here. So the Sentinel is actually going to be what you want to be making your main target here for killing, as it does Shell Breaker on the tank, which is you, hopefully, which is a large physical damage and a 30% increased damage taken for the next 6 seconds. So you definitely want to use something like Cell Brew when this happens. You can also roll away from it. And then the Oracles that are here, they happen to die first because I'm in a pug here and they're not familiar with making sure priority targets are dying first. But with the Oracles, you can literally just kick the water bolts that come out and then use any type of CC, whether it's a stun, para, anything like that will stop their heal and they won't recast the heal. After that, we can go into this next pool, which has this like mini boss guy and two more Snapdragons. Once again, the mini boss isn't actually the priority here. You do want to be taking care of these Snapdragons. As you can see here, they fixate on a person for 10 seconds, and they just stack up this massive bleed that just keeps on stacking physical damage. You can see I'm using Ring of Peace here to knock them away from the target, so me and the other melee can finish them off. It is ideal, again, to use things like Leg Sweep to stop these as well, just to stun them for a couple seconds. Unfortunately, it does not stop the fixate anymore. The first couple weeks of the season, stuns and CCs used to stop the fixate, but Blizzard decided that was too easy, I guess, and they wanted this key to be difficult. I don't know. So once those are taken care of, then you can take care of this mini boss. Just make sure that when you are fighting her, you want to make sure that you're kind of spread evenly in kind of a circle or star formation around her, so that not everyone is getting barraged. You can see there it just went on the one mage by itself. And then do know that the green puddle that spawns, it will pick the farthest person every time, so make sure one person is standing a little bit farther out so that you can bait those away from the group. Now, once you come up here, as soon as you walk through this doorway, the gauntlet here will start activating, so you do want to wait to make sure that the healer is up with you. So you can see I wait, I come through, and then I'm just going to stop and pick up these first two mobs. These mobs really do actually hit kind of deceivingly hard, so they will kind of kill a healer if they get healing aggro. And then, because this is Fortified week, I'm just going up to the second pack, rather, grabbing the Murlocs that charge in and just dealing with the two casters here so that we can take care of these. You'll notice that as things are dying, this witch, which is the first time we're seeing it, it will charge a random person and put a blue circle around them. This does pulsing damage to the target and anyone who's in the circle, and then they also do a lightning bolt cast. So the witch actually has a higher priority on kicking for its regular bolts. The water bolts don't do as much from the oracles, so you would preferably kick the witch's casts and then maybe interrupt or stun the heals on the oracle if you don't have a lot of kicks. Now, the next two mobs are two more of these sentinels. We like to mark one of these so that we can nuke it down and then get it to about halfway and then swap. Now, what is nice about these two mobs that I didn't mention earlier is that the crushing depths that they do when they pick a random player, it does a heal absorb on them, and then they take pulsing frost damage until it's healed off. If you have a warrior in your group or a DK in your group, they can actually immune these things. So the warriors can spell reflect, and DKs can AMS. Now, you'll notice I use the ping system here to communicate with these group of pugs that I'm in. Just told them to LOS on the side, and I'm just grabbing this first 3-pack. Again, it's really unfortunate. Vengeance DHs have a really easy time here. They can pretty much pull the next 2 packs together and just, main CC these down. But as a Brewmaster, we do kind of want to just go slow and steady through this dungeon. We have extra DPS, more DPS than other tanks are carrying, with, how much damage we do. So really just slow and steady, make sure we're taking care of the witch here, kicking the heal, and once this group is dead, we're just going to once again line of sight. You can see here the witch damage did cause this person to die alongside of bursting, so better safe than sorry. Now this next pack again has 2 more casters, an oracle and a witch, and it does have 2 more of these snapdragons. So once again, I'm just going to pull it. You can see I use my transcendence, one of the few times I use it in this dungeon pull, to just again once again LOS. And we do want to grip in, and again make sure we're taking care of these snapdragons first, getting kicks on the witch and stopping the heal that's going off. So it's really good for members of your group to know to move out when they get that circle around them, especially because we're kind of grouped up really close here. Now, if you get good timing, you can pull this mini boss. I recommend pulling this mini boss alone. If you get a good pat where the snapdragons that are patting are nowhere close, and you can pull the 3 other ranged in without pulling the snapdragons, and you think you can deal with it, it's good to do. But as you can see here, if someone gets picked for that poison circle, it does hit pretty hard. So again, I like to play just kind of slow and steady through this. You can see it is a 22. It's not super duper high. It is above a 20. But, you know, we're just going to take this one at a time so that we don't, you know, try to overrush and then end up losing more people because of it. So respecting these mobs is definitely the name of the game here. Now, one of the things that you can do that our group isn't doing is if the person who's farthest away stands in the doorway, when the barrage comes out, it actually has like a quick cast time to it. You can actually just have the people, like range players, stand in the doorway and just move out to the side. Same thing with this poison circle here, and then it will just, like, you know, not hit them. So line of sights do work with those, so if you want to take it closer to the door, that is something you can do. I didn't choose to do that here, just again because we're in a pug instead of like my organized group. Now, unfortunately, I got kind of quick here. I should have pulled these mobs into the region to the right where green went, but unfortunately, I don't know what I was thinking. So these kind of come together and we get these dragons. This really was not a good pull, and it's going to demonstrate just how dangerous these dragons are. So again, please make sure to use... You look how fast these bleeds are going up. We've already lost our mage. I'm up to 5 stacks. I am about to dwarf it off. 6 stacks now. I actually already used dwarf, so now I'm up to 8 with no way to clear it. You can just see how much damage that did. Almost died. Had to use pretty much everything to stay alive. So this pack is really dangerous to pull together. Ideally, you do pull the dragons by themselves, take care of them, and then move on to the casters. The casters have 2 oracles and a witch. So again, maintain kicks on the witch, and then just make sure we're stopping for the heal. Now, you only actually have to pull one of the sides of these 3 sets of casters, especially on Fortified week. On Tyrannical, you might need to pull both just for more room on the second boss, but on Fortifieds, it's okay. This next pack, again, has a Witch, an Oracle, and then one of these Sentinels. So you can see I set time to mark Skull as our priority target here, and, you know, setting up my focus kick for the Oracle for the heal. Now, you can see I just got hit with that Crush without having Cell Brew up, and it nearly killed me. And again, that's on a 22 Fortified, so just be very careful with this. And you can see our healers definitely struggling with this to heal themselves out of that heal absorb. They go down. Luckily, we are able to have the DH for the B-Res here. But ideally, again, just making sure that we're making use of stuns, interrupts, and really nuking down the priority skull mob here. You can see the side mobs did get killed, so people are focusing a little bit more on just AoEing than they are on like focus cleave. It doesn't help that we didn't have our warrior for half of that pool because he was running back. But it is something that, again, you just want to really respect these pools. Now, for the first boss in here, this is Lady Naz'jar. One of the most dangerous things about this mob is the fact that it constantly does the AoE damage where it will pick a person, do a chain lightning off of them, it chains to the nearest person, and then the next nearest person. So the best way to handle this boss is to actually get in a kind of like circle formation, have each 3 DPS get on the 4 cardinal directions with the healer on the other, and then you can see as it starts, I go into the very center. What this does is it makes it so whoever it would pick, as long as people are evenly spaced around, it would bounce from whoever it is onto me, guaranteed as a second target, and then a different third target. Where we're a lot easier to heal as tanks than our DPS or healers are, so having yourself in the middle really does help out. Now, when these extra ads spawn at 66 and 33%, what I like to do is I like to come over to one caster, tell my group to interrupt the other, and I will taunt the main like non-caster mini boss over to star and let the other people pull the other caster over. This is just the best way I've found as Brew to get threat on these and kind of take care of them, and communicating with that with your team ahead of time is ideal so that you can make it go cleanly. So we'll get a better look at that as we go into the 30% here, but again, you can see during this AoE I'm just moving into the middle to make sure that I'm always ideally the second target being hit if people are spread good enough. Unfortunately, our two range are really close. Ideally, you do have two range go opposite each other. Makes it a little bit easier. So here you can see I'm going to come over to where Star is spawning. I'm taunting the Skull Mob over, getting a kick on Star, and just pulling into Diamond as it comes across. Luckily, the DH here, or sorry, not DH, but DK did help pull it over, and we're just going to kind of keep these things together, make use of ring, make use of stuns, and really just be careful about standing in these geysers. As a tank, you can get hit by a geyser. It's not ideal, but we can definitely survive it. When it comes to like controlling the mobs versus getting hit by a geyser, go for whatever is going to be ideal for you. You can see there I got hit by a geyser. It did about 30% of my health without an EDR. Now, when we started this dungeon, we lusted the very first pool, and then I told them not to lust this boss, because the second boss is where you actually are going to want your lust. It deals more damage, and it's a little bit more, important to kill fast before you run a room, especially because we didn't pull all the mobs in here. So, the important thing to do is make sure that you have some type of defensive for every time it uses Crushing Claw. You can see that it's coming up in about 4 seconds. Ideally, you can just use Celery. You can see I put mine on there. If you don't have that up, it will hit you pretty hard. And then you just want to be stacked for when these bubbling fissures come up. You're going to see I'm going to use the ping system to try to communicate that, pinging our healer so they come in. And then you just want to move the way away from the mobs. Now this is another spot where I like to use Transcendence. I'll either put myself towards this wall or pillar, or put Transcendence down so I don't get too far away. Monk is really nice for dealing with these ads that spawn. They can't be knocked back by normal means, but just damaging them causes them to get knocked away. So if you just spinning crane kick every other ability, which ideally you have energy for, you can just continuously knock them away and never allow them to get anywhere near the rest of your group. And then as soon as they go down, you can just stack again on the other side of the boss and put them together. Now, after the first set of ads spawn and the second stack comes up, you're going to have a knockback, and then there's going to be a second stack like right after those oozes activate. So you do want to stay close to this boss and stay on this side. As you can see, I'm not going back to the other side to get ready for the ads. I'm actually staying here to prepare for the next stack that's going to come right before the ads actually spawn. And this will activate both set of ads, and again, ring using your spinning crane kick will allow you to keep those away from the rest of your group. Now you can see with Lust and all our cooldowns, this actually died before the second set of ads even spawned. Our DPS is pretty good. It's not excellent, but it's pretty good, so doing that does make it ideal. You can see we didn't have to get anywhere close to those extra mobs that we left in the corner. If you do get farther into the group, if into the room, if people die or anything like that, you can always turn and pull the boss to the other side and start going back towards the old boss room if you did leave the one set of ads up like we did here. Now, coming into this next room, I like to ping again for people or put down a marker so that they know to stack an LOS over there. I pull this Crusher dude, and then I come grab these, and I go back over. You can normally just kind of get aggro on them and run over here. This will make it so all the ads come together. These hunters are really annoying when they start disengaging away. They do a lot of damage. You'll have to move out of the crush here, but then you can just ring them together. And the nice thing is that with Detox, which hopefully you're using, right, as a monk, they should mostly just target you as long as you're holding threat and keeping them together so that those poisons are just going on yourself. But you can see here we're just kind of getting kicks on the mages, and I'm trying to get the hunters as close together, and we're really just cleaving off of the casters and then off of the crusher here so that we can kill the rest of these. But we do want to make sure that we are getting close. You can see I'm continuously pulling them over to the other hunter and trying to get the hunter down so that they're kind of dying evenly here. Now, after this pack dies, I like to go back up towards the third boss, the one that has the squid on his head. So in order to do that, we're going to pull this seer that has these small mindbender dudes with them, and then we're going to pull another crusher. Now, these mindbenders on Fortified Week actually are deceivingly dangerous, okay? So these do psionic pulse, and these do shadow damage to every single person in your group within 60 yards, so there's not really a good way to avoid them. So you want to make sure that as you're dealing with these, you're making sure to use things like leg sweep, which I didn't happen to use here, but use stuns, anything that you can to stop their psionic pulses while making sure to get the kick on the seer and making sure not to get hit by the seer's beam that you can see going by right there in purple, and also making sure not to get crushed. So that pack's can be a little bit more damage intensive, so you want to make sure that you have, you know, some extra ways of dealing with those mobs. I really should have leg swept to help the healer out there. And then I like to pull this pack just by itself because pulling 3 of these seers together, especially even with the number of kicks we have, it just isn't a great idea, especially with these extra minions here. So again, just making sure we're getting kick on the seer, avoiding the lines, and really AoEing down these mindbender things. Once those are dead, we can definitely take both of these. You can basically put 2 people on each of these with a kick on each. They do take 3 because they will cast, but you can use things like leg sweep to get a stun on both, and then, you know, obviously it stops the cast. These you can use paralyze on. You can stop their cast with ring of peace. So you have lots of options for dealing with these, even if you don't have enough kicks, you know, to do 3 on each. Alright, so with the next pack, we do have these 2 crushers. If this was Tyrannical Week, I would go grab the other minions and bring them in. I made the mistake of doing that on a 24 Fortified earlier this week, and those minions destroyed all of us. Like, it was just, it's a lot of damage. So, again, slow and steady's honestly your best friend here. You can see we still have 16:20 left on the clock. So we're just going to deal with these 2 crusher dudes together by themselves, not worry about the minions. We'll take care of the minions once we're done. So we can see we're just kind of evenly killing these. You can choose to kill one and the other. I honestly think it's easier to kill them, you know, together mostly, just because it ends up saving more time to kill both of them at the same time. But nothing really special about these, just moving out. Now again, there are a lot more of these here, so look how much damage I'm taking. Like, it's so much. So just be careful with these. You can see I just leg swept to stop the damage here because I'm seeing how much they're doing. And you're just going to really want to burst these down. You can see we just had another knock go off. That wasn't me, but it was someone else, so it was good to see. And you can even use Ring of Peace again here. You can see we get another knock went off there. Just really anything to stop the damage on these because they really do a lot of burst damage to everyone all at once. And as you can see, on bursting week, they also cause bursting. So they're like really bad. You can see I come out here to try to LOS them so that they'll stop casting. Because it does seem like they choose to cast on a person, but it does damage to everyone. So me LOSing seemed to help that. Now, third boss here, this is a pretty high damage check for Tyrannical, but for Fortified, it's really not that bad. As a Brewmaster, we have lots of options for dealing with these totems. So when the boss pulls out a totem, all of his melee attacks become spell damage. So it's really important to use cooldowns here. So I'm going to sell Brew, and I also have our Naz'jar out, and we're just making sure to kill down that totem. Once the totem's dead, he really stops doing damage to us. Now, with this Earth Fissure that's going on, they didn't do it here, but what I like to normally do is have the group stack, either me with the rest of the melee or, you know, everyone on top of me, and then just choose to, you know, go clockwise slowly as we will move around. Then no one can really deal, you know, take too much damage. For this next totem, you can see I'm popping Cell Brew again. And that one I chose to just Touch of Death because, again, Fortified, it's not too bad. But you do have the option. I also had used Fort Brew there at the same time, so Cell Brew and Fort Brew together. And then for the third one, if you get a third one, you can see I have Diffuse Magic ready to go. It's a big 60% DR. I'm going to sell brew, and I diffused, and then we did transition, so it ended up not mattering. But you have lots of choices with dealing with that. If you really need to, if it's like a high tyrannical key, I know this is more of a fortified guide, but if it's a high tyrannical key, you always have the option of like trying to kite the boss. If you use Chi Torpedo and make use of things like Transcendence, just be aware that there are extra of those Mind Bender ads behind us, so you don't want to pull a bunch of those. But you can always do that if you run out of defensive cooldowns. Alright, so let's go ahead and fast forward through this next part. Alright, once we make it back through the entrance to the other wing, what you want to wait for is wait for this Tainted Sentry to get close, and you want to pull this, and you can see I'm going to use Ring here to knock the Aqua people away just so that we don't get a lot of, get those as extras. So, especially on Fortified weeks, you want to make sure that you're nuking down the Sentry. Now, you can see this Pug group that I'm with chose not to do that. They chose to AoE, and that's a really bad choice because you see we almost died there. So ideally what you want to do is you want to single target down the Sentry until he starts swell, and then as soon as he starts swelling, then start doing massive AoE, and you can kill those mobs. And if you do it at that timing, it will cause the next swell, if he gets a second one off, to happen right as the debuffs expire. Once those are dead, you can go ahead and pull these Hunters and Mages together. You can see it's not too bad. We do have just 2 Mages here and the Hunters. Not as bad as the next Mage pack. But we're going to take care of these, and ideally we kill down those little globs. They don't do anything important here. You can see I'm pulling a couple more of these so we can hopefully get rid of our debuff before the swell happens on this next mob. So we just want to kill these things pretty quickly and evenly. Again, ideally with a uniform group here, or a group that you put together, you would want to communicate, making sure that we're killing the small ads and then not killing any new ones once we are about to pull this big guy. But again, we got two big melee brains in this group, so they want to go ham real quick on all these corruptors and give ourselves lots and lots of stacks. So you can see I'm trying to pull back a little bit. They choose not to damage until the Sentry comes in, so it's like, okay, whatever, we're going to go for it. So again, ideally, big single target on the Sentry. We don't want any of these things dying. If you have someone who you think is a little bit more weaker, you can see I went to go Dispel. Wasn't able to get the spell off on the healer there, but you can dispel that off with Detox, and then it'll cause them to not take extra damage. Again, every stack of this causes you to take more and more damage from that swell ability, so that's really why you want to wait to kill those Corruptors until... start attacking those Corruptors until the swell starts. Now, here you want to, again, you can group up these extra little corruptions that come. You want to be very careful with this next pack. Now, ideally with this next pack, you go in with a plan. Unfortunately, someone attacked one of these Aqua Mages, and things just don't go very well. So ideally what you want to do is get in them together. You can get them together and then interrupt their first cast by getting in the middle and just hitting Lake Sweep, stalking them all at once. After that happens, you can use a Ring of Peace to knock 2, 3, or 4 of them together, and then you can get a kick and a paralyze off, and hopefully at that time you're in range to start Touch of Deathing things. What I normally do with my organized group is we'll come together, I'll get my Leg Sweep off, then we'll Ring of Peace, as mentioned, and then after that happens, we'll normally have our Warrior use Shockwave, because we have a Warrior with us, or you can have a Shaman use Knock Up if you've got an Elemental Shaman or an Enhancement Shaman. So we kind of just go through using different stops that we have, and then we'll normally say I do have my auto marker set up to mark them, and we'll say okay, we're going to kick these 3. Feel free to use the defensive if you get targeted by more than 1 for the rest of us. And ideally there's 5 people and we don't all get picked. Now, for the next pool, we've got the double swell guys, right? So this is where I actually like to use the 3rd Lust on Fortified weeks. We're going to target one of these, hopefully go in without any of extra stacks. You can see I just spelled off the healer. You can see our stacks are about to come off, but I've marked one with Skull. We're going to Lust and blow all our cooldowns on this because this is more dangerous than the boss. So get one down to just about half, and then you can swap off. Once it gets below half, swap off to the next one, because otherwise you get the Az that spawn by it. Only the first one that dies will spawn the extra adds. Luckily here we had enough damage pop that we're able to kill the next sentry before he gets a second swap. But ideally there, especially as the keys get higher and higher, or maybe if you have lower damage, you'll want to swap after one gets to about 50, swap to the other, and just kind of cleave them down and let the first one die, and then kill the second one. Now, for this last boss, you can see I'm telling my group, please make sure that they use stacked. Ideally, you want people to get into a triangle formation, and then you just want to be kind of off to the side. So when this boss comes out, he's going to put circle on 3 of the people. You want to put those ideally as close as possible together, and as that happens, you can see this is going to hit me. You can cell brew almost every single one of those. You can see with cell brew, I took no damage from that frontal. Just ideally make sure you're not pointing at people, and then once it's done, get together, because these mobs will kind of spawn near people. Unfortunately, sometimes one of the casters or some of the mobs will spawn really far apart. You can see purple there spawned really far away, but ideally you just get aggro on the small guys. Those are the ones that do most of the damage, and let your other people help you get kicks going in. Now, once those are dead, again, make sure that the new people who have the circles stack near the old ooze. A lot of people like to go kind of all over the place. You want to stack those together and then be ready for the here. You can see I used dampen harm for the second one. My cell brew wasn't quite back up, so first one I cell brewed, second frontal I dampen harmed. Alright, again, you can see I'm just going to work on grouping all the small adds here and let the others help me get the casters in. You know, as brew, we don't excel at dealing with the casters that are far away, so play into your strengths of your team, right? So once the ooze dropped, you can see I'm turning the boss away so I can point that frontal away. They're going to put the purple circles now near the old ooze, and then now the third one that comes out here, you can see I just cell brewed, and the frontal is going to come out, and cell brew is going to eat the entire damage. I don't take any damage from it. Once again, try to get close. The closer you guys are together when these adds spawn, the easier they are to pick up, especially if you're near your healer. It helps out a lot. You can see there you've only got 1 taunt, so, and you know, 2 cake smashes, so you kind of have to play smart. If the boss gets low and you're kind of dealing with these adds, you can just choose to kill the boss because the adds will disappear, and so will all the ooze when the boss hits 0. And after that, you can just get large, get swole, kill the octopus real quick, and hopefully you've timed your key. So if you have any questions about anything in the guide here, any suggestions or anything you would like to talk about, let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a like. Also, if you want to see more content like this, make sure to subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one.